While the heroes were on the lookout planning how to get to Namek, they would have thought about using the Saiyans as spaceships. Though, assuming Roshi had a TV put on the lookout, they would have seen the broadcast about the scientists having collected both spaceships. Since in this timeline the remotes for these ships were destroyed when the Saiyans were killed, they can't use these ships. However, this talk of spaceships would remind Kami and Mr. Popo that there is something they think might be a spaceship that they can use. Though when Mr. Popo asks someone to come with him, they suggest how Bulma should go, as she would be the best one to figure out how to use the spaceship. After she agrees, he uses his magic carpet to take them to Yunzabit Heights. Once they get to the object that he thinks is a spaceship, he explains the story of Kami telling him about how he grew up in Yunzabit Heights. Then after they enter it, Mr. Popo would reveal he knows the Namekian. Since the ship is commanded by voice, they try testing if it works, which it does. They then return to the lookout and explain that it was a spaceship, and they can leave in 5 days. After they revamp the ship a little, Bulma would want someone to go with her, which as usual, Roshi would volunteer. Normally Bulma shot this suggestion down, but since Roshi no longer has his preferred side and is the guardian of Earth, she would agree to this. Since Roshi is going with them, Kami and Popo would decide to stay on Earth. Even though Kami wanted to see his homeworld, someone needs to keep an eye on the Earth. When Gohan eventually says he wants to go, since he wanted to help revive Krillin, Chi-Chi allows him to this time, but she decides to go with them too. They were worried about the spaceship getting crowded, so unfortunately for Goku, he couldn't go with them. Before they leave, they would have to find out where planet Namek is, so they can get in contact with King Kai. Roshi would talk to him telepathically. This is when King Kai would explain to them where Namek is in the history of the planet. Regardless, after the 5 days passed, Bulma, Chi-Chi, Roshi, and Gohan would board the ship together. While on the way to Namek, Roshi likely would have decided to do image training, which Chi-Chi would join in. Gohan would join in too, but Roshi would also help teach Gohan in the ways of the Turtle School. At least, teaching him the ways of the Turtle School as much as he can, since he can't have Gohan do the exercises he had Krillin and Goku do, such as delivering milk or farm work. Something important to talk about here is Frieza, and what he would be up to. Since the Earthlings never mentioned the Dragon Balls to Raditz, as Goku wasn't killed, Vegeta never found out about them. And since Vegeta didn't know about them, he didn't get the idea to go to Namek for the Dragon Balls, which means that Frieza couldn't have overheard this on his scouter, so he would have no reason to go to Namek. It's possible Frieza could have gotten curious about what happened to Raditz, Nappa, and Vegeta, but I don't think he would care. Sure, the Saiyans were useful to them, but he would have gotten rid of them eventually, so whoever defeated them just saved him the time of having to do it himself. Anyway, once the heroes eventually reached Namek, they're going to have a much easier time collecting the Dragon Balls than they normally did. So, once they get to Namek, the heroes will quickly land, but Bulma makes sure the atmosphere is breathable before they exit the ship. Once outside of the ship, Bulma would check the Dragon Radar, which it does pick up on the Namekian Dragon Balls. Gohan then notices that there are high power levels on the way towards them, so they put their guard up. The high power levels he sensed turns out to be some of the warrior Namekians, as they can investigate who this was on their planet. The 4 heroes would quickly explain who they were and why they were there, with them saying everything about the fight with the Saiyans and how they were there to revive their friends. After hearing this, the warrior Namekians would be more peaceful to them, but they would be a little skeptical at first. They would tell them that they will have to go see the Grand Elder Guru to get permission to use the Dragon Balls. Of course, once they arrive at where the Grand Elder is, Nail would come out to talk to them. Both the heroes and warrior Namekians would explain why they are there, so Nail would allow them to see the Grand Elder. This is when the warrior Namekians take their leave, so the heroes enter the Grand Elder's house alongside Nail. Once there, Gohan would try explaining their story, but he would stop him and ask him to come next to him. After he does, he places his hand on his head and reads his past, which allows him to see that their intention is pure. So, he would allow the 4 of them to use the Dragon Balls. Before they go, however, he would decide to unlock their hidden potential, which, for Gohan, Roshi, and Chi-Chi, he would unlock their hidden power. Though when he unlocks Bulma's potential, this would unlock more of her intelligence instead of her latent power. Regardless, after their potential is unlocked, they would prepare to go and gather the Dragon Balls. With there being 3 of them that can fly, they would be able to split up to gather them even faster. So, they would all look at the radar and decide who would go where. After they get the first 3, they would bring them back to the Grand Elder's house. They would then repeat the process to get the next 3, and once they return to the Grand Elder again, he would give them the 7th Dragon Ball. With the help of Nail, they would summon Purunga, but this is when they find out that they can only revive 1 person at a time, but they have 3 wishes. They would use the first wish to revive Krillin, which Nail would repeat this to Purunga. The second wish would then be used to revive Shotsu, so Nail tells Purunga their second wish as well. And as for the third wish, they don't have one, so Nail would dismiss the dragon. After thanking the Namekians for their help in reviving their friends, they would prepare to go back to Earth. Just like they did on the way there, Roshi, Chi-Chi, and Gohan would train in the same way on the way back. After they returned to Earth, the heroes would all meet up at Castle Corporation with the now revived Krillin and Shotsu. They would likely have a party in celebration of defeating the Saiyans, since the Earth was now in a time of peace. Since Goku normally got a gravity training chamber put in a spaceship to go to Namek, and he didn't get to in this timeline, he might go to Castle Corporation and ask Bulma and Dr. Brief to build a gravity chamber for him. They would likely agree, so they would expand his house and include this gravity chamber. Also, since it is built and Chi-Chi still trains in this timeline, she might train inside of it with Goku as well. Piccolo also comes over to visit and train with Gohan and Chi-Chi, so he might end up training inside it with Goku and Chi-Chi too. While Gohan could train there, he'd probably choose not not to on purpose. Even though Chi-Chi isn't forcing him to study as much, he would choose to study on his own since he wants to be a scholar. This doesn't mean he isn't training at all though, he just isn't training as much as they did before in preparation for the Saiyans. Since he started training with Roshi on the spaceship, he might go through the full Turtle School training now that he's back on Earth. Regardless, the Earth will now be in a time of peace for just under 2 years. With Vegeta not being alive, he would never have been there to stay on Earth, so he can never get in the way of Bulma and Yamcha's relationship. Sure, Yamcha was stated to have problems with infidelity, but with her not being distracted by Vegeta, they would be able to work through these problems together and develop a healthier relationship. Anyway, after these 2 years have passed, everyone would be together at Capsule Corporation just to hang out together. Since the heroes never fought Frieza, he wouldn't be coming back to Earth as Mecha Frieza for his revenge. While they were hanging out, a mysterious person would arrive, saying that he was looking for Goku. He wouldn't say what his name was, and when Bulma noticed the Capsule Corporation logo on his jacket, she asked if he was one of their employees. Regardless, Goku would step up and talk to him, but the mysterious person has him go somewhere farther away so it's private. When they get far enough away, he would start with having Goku spar with him, so that he could test his power. However, he wouldn't have Goku go into his Super Saiyan form, since this warrior isn't able to. After they spar, he goes on to say not to tell the others what he is about to say, which after Goku agrees, he goes on to say that he is from the future and his name is Trunks. Though when he says that his parents are Bulma and Yamcha, that wouldn't be a surprise to him. Regardless, he goes on to warn them that 3 years from now, 2 androids will attack. He also explains that they were created by the Red Ribbon Army and how he's the only fighter left. After saying that all the heroes die in the fight against the androids, he explains how Goku caught a heart virus and died before they attacked. So he then gives Goku medicine for the heart virus and tells him to take it when the symptoms appear. He then has Goku promise again to keep it a secret since he might not be born otherwise. Trunks says goodbye as Goku returns to the others, but he has trouble explaining things. So, since Piccolo heard it all, he offers to explain it, so Goku allows him to. They then see the time machine leaving, as Trunks waves goodbye, and the heroes make their plan to train. Roshi would plan to go train with King Kai again, so he would suggest that the other humans should come with him to train. They would likely accept, so it would be Roshi, Chi-Chi, Gohan, Tien, Yamcha, Krillin, and Shotsu going to train on King Kai's planet. Goku would stay behind to train in his gravity chamber, with Piccolo deciding to train with him as well. With Roshi on King Kai's planet, he would quickly realize that he didn't have much else to learn from the Kai. While he could teach the other humans the Kaioken, he already taught this to Roshi, along with the Spirit Bomb. Instead, he might suggest that Roshi should go and train with the Grand Kai. While we don't know any techniques that the Grand Kai teaches, I think he could help with something important, which would be gaining control over the Kaioken. While Roshi didn't really have to deal with the negative side effects of the Kaioken, if he didn't use it a lot, he would still know that they exist. So, with the help of Grand Kai, he would work on trying to master this technique. So, over the next 3 years, the heroes continued training in preparation for the arrival of the androids.